Muse? You're there, right? You better be. Yeah, you better be. Because I need you. Of course, I need you every day, but every so often I need you more than I normally would. And this is one of those times. You probably know, Muse, that the release of Dead Twin Sister is about a month off. And today, I just wrote the blurb for it. And it reminded me of the journey that I have taken with this book and the series and the band. And how kind of that journey that I've taken with this particular book, this series, is very indicative of my career as a writer. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about it. Because it has some bearing on you. And the more I reflect on it, the more important it becomes. The more telling it becomes. When I wrote the first book is The Dark Seduction. I don't want to say arrogant, was brazen enough in my career to reach out to the band Die So Fluid and say, hey, I had this really cool idea and I want you to be a part of it. I want to write a book that stars you guys because I love you guys. And I think that your music and your personalities belong in fiction. And much to my surprise, they agreed. And I can't deny the fact that I was nervous as hell when, not necessarily when I submitted the idea, when I submitted to Grog the idea for the story, because she had given me some sort of clue as to what she thought would be really cool to write for her character, for her to deal with. And so I sent them the idea, they liked the idea, and then I had to make that idea come true. And as per usual, I just dove headfirst into it and let you take the reins and help me to guided me through this story in typical fashion, and it came out very quickly, and I was very happy with what it was. And the band was pleased, and I moved on forward. And this is kind of where it starts to intertwine with the growth of my career, as it were. Back in those days, I had this idea, I had this sense about myself, and this really does kind of tie into what's happened recently. I had the sense that really all I was a storyteller. And I had this unique voice and way to tell a story. I know it sounds horribly arrogant, but that's where I was at the time. And I also didn't feel like I had the tools necessary to polish my work. I thought, hey, that's all on my editor. I pay a person to do that, and that's how it worked. And that short-sightedness ended up causing me problems. And I want to get really into the muck and mire of what the problems were. But in the end, the first book in the series that I released not knowing that it really needed a little bit more polishing. And now, eventually, it got all the polishing it needed. And the book that you can read now, The Dark Seduction, is up to my current standards, which are considerably higher than they were when I wrote the first book. And a different editor edited The Dark Seduction. And now here I am. Now I have a new editor. I have a brand new process. And I stand amazed at how different my process is now with this second book in the series than it was when I first wrote and released the first book in the series. Now, it's very easy for artists to sit back and beat and berate themselves for where they were. But that's not the important part. The important part is where they are. And if you can look back into your crystal ball that glances into your past, and you can really see the places in which you have grown as an artist, then you're doing something right. And sometimes that something right is simply in the way of accepting something. And that something could be accepting something that you've been doing wrong or something that you've neglected about your process or your craft or whatever. And so I am right now halfway through proofing the book Dead Twin Sister, which is the second book in the series. And there was so much. There was so much for this. So much not in the way, but there was so much emotional investment in this book for all parties. The band, Grog and Drew, had to deal with the loss of Al Fletcher, their drummer. And that was part of the reason why I was so nervous about this book, because it deals with that loss as well. But it wasn't just that. It was so many other things. It was me, the first time that I was working with a new editor. And it's so, and I think that it's funny how it all sort of comes in full circle, because with the Dark Seduction, that was the first time I worked with that editor. And now it's the first time I'm working with this editor, and the process could not be any different. Couldn't possibly be any more different. And it's not just the accepting of this new editor and her method of work. It's also that I have looked into my past and said, this is what I've been doing wrong, and it has to change. And so I accepted all of that. I folded it all into my process such that everything has improved from top to bottom. And so I feel exponentially more confident in my work and my ability to take your stories and turn them into viable commodity such that the people, the public would want to consume. And I feel an exponentially more confidence in my work with an editor. And I no longer feel like I am sort of a second-class citizen in the rank and file of authors and editors. I know that prior to this, my idea was, yes, editor, you know everything. I bow to you. I defer to you in every way, shape, or form when it comes to the mechanics of writing, because I felt like I just didn't know any better. I was simply a storyteller. But now I feel like I have raised above that a little, not a little bit, but a significant amount, where I can take a look at what has been going on between me and the editor and say, and have a better point of reference in which that I can not only better understand where the editor is coming from, but I can better explain why I think something needs to be a certain way, and not in a defensive sort of way. Or I can say, hey, I see what you did here, but maybe this is better. I feel like I know the verbiage to use in order to communicate better with my editor and not feel like I have to always be in deference to the editor. And I feel that works both ways now. I feel like my new editor gets a sense that I have more confidence in my skills, which in turn makes her respect that more. And that's, that two-way street is much more powerful that way. And because of all of this, when I feel like I'm going to release, for not the first time in my life, but in my career, but when Dead Twin Sister releases, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is not only ready, but it is rock solid. And which is good, which is great, because this book serves as an homage, not only to the band, but to the memory of Al Fletcher, and to my love and respect for their music. And it's also a milestone for me, because I wasn't sure that series was going to continue on, and I am happy. I am so happy that it is. In the same vein that I'm so happy that a month or two after that, I'm going to release Suicide Machine, which is the second in another series that I thought was dead. And I've already noticed that as I'm going through that book, the first draft, the manuscript of that, before I send it to beta readers, I'm already noticing the improvement in my craft, because I have been working back and forth with this new editor, with a newfound confidence in my mechanics and skills. So I guess my point is, with this little discussion, Muse, is that the relationship between the writer and the editor is a precious thing. And it has to be treated with such respect, and allowed to blossom and grow, especially while a train is coming by. I don't know. Maybe the train is part of this narrative. I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, I can't wait to release this book. I'm thrilled to death. I love the cover, and what's really cool about the cover is that is Grog's face on that cover, and she did that for me. She took that photo for me to put on that cover. Because why? She's freaking awesome. She's a talented artist. I have the highest respect for her, and I can't wait for people to read this story. I think it's an improvement over the first in many, many ways. And I think that anybody that knew Al Fletcher, I think that they will come out of this book having this, maybe a sense of closure. Of course, that's not my place to give, but I think they're going to know, they're going to understand that it is an homage to that man and to the band. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about this. And I know that I blathered on, and you're probably sick of hearing from me, and you've probably got other artists to muse. Is that what you do? Do you muse? Muse? I don't know. Anyway, that's all I got. I got more to do. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up, shutting up. Shut up, shutting up. And then I'm going to go to work. Anyway, thank you, Muse, for being you, because you are awesome. Yeah!